Pinhole photography is undoubtedly one of the oldest forms of photography, and it works on the principle that any small aperture, i.e. a pinhole, can form a lens which will create an image on a recording surface, generally film. And therein lies the problem with pinhole photography, that if you're using film all the time, it can be expensive and the results can be unpredictable, but perhaps that's part of the charm. However, in a digital age, wouldn't it be nice to be able to take pinhole-like images using a digital camera? Well, thankfully that is possible using something like this, which is essentially a pinhole lens. Now, by lens, there's no glass involved at all, and it is literally just a hole in what is essentially a recessed body cap. I'll open the box up and I'll show you exactly what I mean. This is the Thingify Pinhole Pro S Micro Four Thirds fitting pinhole lens. I haven't looked at it yet, so hopefully everything is totally intact. And there we have the lens itself. Now, apologies if you're expecting a slick box opening sequence. Put that to the side. But here all we have is essentially a recessed body cap with the smallest of holes there, which you can't see because it's actually that small. Now, as this is essentially just a hole going through a body cap, what this does mean is if once I put it on my camera, there is a possibility that moisture or even dust can actually get through this hole onto my camera sensor. Now, obviously that is really not ideal. However, it does have a filter thread. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fit a 58mm slimline UV filter. Now, this is a cheap one from Amazon. Now, to be honest, there's a bit of loss in image quality. It's not really going to matter, is it? Let's face it, because it's a pinhole lens. We're not expecting super sharp results with this. So now what we do have is we have a fully protected pinhole lens, which I just need to mount to my GH5 Mark II. So there's my camera. As ever, I shall remove the lens as quickly as possible. Quite excited about trying this little thing out. And there we have a Micro Four Thirds GH5 Mark II, now capable of shooting pinhole images. So now, all we need to do is head down to the coast. I've come to Staves in North Yorkshire and go and give it a try. Now, I'm expecting my exposures to actually be quite incredibly long, so a lot of this is going to be tripod based. If you look at the aperture, which is of course a pinhole, then it's going to be a really high F number. So we're going to be talking sort of very long exposure, and it's quite an overcast day. So we're going to be looking pretty much the sort of thing we did in last week's video with the long exposures. We should have that pinhole feel about it. I'm not expecting super clinical sharpness by any shape or form. But yeah, I'm quite excited to try this out. So I'll run the intro and I'll see you down by the coast. Okay, so as you can see, I've composed my first shot. There's very little definition within the frame, and this is to be expected. We are shooting literally through a pinhole. You know, calling it a pinhole lens is really misleading because there's no lens involved, there's no glass involved. It is literally just a pinhole, probably through a very small piece of metal mounted within that recessed body cap as such. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to quickly change the photo style to monochrome D. Now change aspect ratio to 1:1. And as you can see from the histogram, it's actually exposing, slightly underexposing. which is pretty similar to what we were finding with the long exposures last week. So I'm going to increase the exposure to 2/3 of a stop over. Which is giving me just over 3 seconds. Obviously the F number's not shown because it effectively hasn't got a lens on there. 3 second self timer, sorry. And now the normal. Check the histogram. Histogram all looks fine, good distribution. So I'll put the shot on the screen for you now to have a look at. Okay, I'm quite pleased with that shot for a starter. Now, what I'm going to try and do now is quickly take a shot before the tide comes any more of this sort of little jetty going out with the cliffs behind. And the beauty of this kind of photography is actually quite simple to do, so you can be quite quick about it. Okay, so I've quickly composed a shot. Now, as you will probably notice on the EVF view that we had previously, there was a lot of sensor dust showing, and essentially that's because this lens, it's not really a lens, but it's going to be around about the f128, maybe higher sort of bracket. So that basically means if you've got any gunk on your sensor, even if you don't know you've got any gunk on your sensor, it's going to show. So there's going to be a lot of cleaning up going on after. Okay, so I'm just about to take the shot. I'm getting 6 seconds on this one. ISO 200, square crop again. Nice and simple. I love the actual vignetting I'm sort of getting on the actual frame. It's something just timeless about pinhole photography. I'm really pleased with that one, and I'll put it on the screen for you now. Now, if you remember at the start, when we looked at the lens, it was actually recessed coming back. So think of a body cap and coming back in a slight cone shape. Now, the reason for that is to make it wider. Now, I'm not sure if you can tell from the GoPro view, but I'm actually quite close to this boat here. And I think this could be a nice shot. It's going to need more exposure simply because my subject is white. Now, if you remember from when I was photographing snow, generally if you've got something white within a frame, you're going to have to increase the exposure compensation to compensate. But pinhole photography is really the most simple kind of photography because all I'm doing is worrying about the composition and worrying about the exposure. There's no need to worry about depth of field or anything like that. You get what you're given. Okay, I'm just taking this one again, 3 second self timer. It's a 40-second exposure this time, so it will take 40 seconds, and then still the camera will do another 40-second shot effectively to sort out the noise. And when it's finally taken, I'll put it on the screen for you to have a look at. So while the camera's whirring away, taking another shot, this time essentially using the big jutting out there, rocks, pub behind, quite simple. I'm going to try and answer the question of why on earth would you want to use something like this to create what is effectively a very poor quality, lo-fi image. And to be honest, for fun. It's just nice to be able to come out and be a little bit creative. I was going to take another one now because the tide's coming a bit more. It's just nice to get creative and to not really have that much of an input on what's going to actually happen at the end of it. Really, it's just about me and composition, and the rest is just what's happening around. It's all about movement, it's all about feel. It's, you know, photography doesn't always have to be so sterile and so perfect. You know, imperfections can be beautiful. And to prove it, I'll put this shot up on the screen for you now. Okay, so I'm going to try and get a bit creative with this shot. I'm not sure it's going to work really, but we're going to go to colour. So we'll go photo style, and I think we'll just go to portrait. exposure compensation, I'm finding if I go by checking the histogram, which is showing at the moment I should be over 2 stops and I'm still underexposed, I think it's not really working. So I'm taking this one to 1 2/3. I'm going to try it that. And that's giving me a 50-second exposure, which I'll let the camera whir away. Okay, so the shot has taken, let's have a look. And as you can see, it's actually still overexposed. I think I'm okay, I think I can pull that back, but look at the colours have just gone skew-iff and pretty horrible. Hence why I think it suits black and white well, but not so good for colour. But anyway, I'll put the final colour shot on for you to have a look at, and then I'll do a cheeky monochrome conversion for you to look at immediately after. Now let's talk about cost, because this little thing wasn't that inexpensive. Basically it cost me 50 quid off eBay, which may sound cheap, but let's face it, it's going to be very limited use. And to be honest, if you're really interested in trying out pinhole photography, what you could actually do is literally get yourself a spare body cap, drill a very, very, very small hole into it. You'll probably need the sort of drill that model makers use, but you could drill a small hole in the centre, and then you will have effectively a pinhole lens, but it won't be as wide as this. But if all you plan to do is just try out pinhole photography 1 or 2 times, it works out far more cost effective. Now for me, I probably will play with this occasionally. I'm quite interested to see what it looks like with infrared actually, because I think that could be really interesting. The make's Fingify. It's well constructed. I believe they're an American company, so you might, if you live in the States, you might actually be able to pick it up a little bit cheaper. It's great fun, but what I would say is definitely get yourself a 58mm UV filter to screw on the front, simply to stop any gunk coming in, because I hate to think what I would have got in if I'd have been down there shooting by the coast with that sort of salt water flying around. But yeah, a bit of fun and another nice enjoyable afternoon by the coast. Anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please do give it a thumbs up, maybe subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'll see you again soon for another one. Thanks for watching.